I'm a big fan of big zooms. And over the last year, I've got really invested into B4 lenses, which are crazy old zoom lenses. And in this video is my entire journey. But we have to start where I started when I knew nothing, and that's talking to an expert named James.
Hi, I'm James. I'm an Australian, I was an Australian broadcast camera operator. So I worked for TV stations and live sports and that sort of thing. So I got a good background in B4 lenses and broadcast equipment. I did a lot of research over heaps of years and then ended up finding out really bad ways to adapt B4 lenses, and then eventually worked up to really good ways to adapt B4 lenses. Probably the ones that people should care about the most, I use Canon lenses predominantly, so is a J series, so the model code starts with J. That is designating that it's a standard definition 2/3 inch lens. That's what the J means. And then you have the HJ series, which means it's a high definition 2/3 inch lens. And then majority of the other letters are just features in the servo zoom and just minor things that you don't really need to worry about. YJ lenses, that has a J in it, so it is also a 2/3 inch lens, and then the Y means it's a professional video lens. So the initials are really important if you're going out and buying a lens to know what size it covers. And particularly the 2/3 inch lenses are the best to adapt because they have the larger image circle, whereas the others, adapters are not readily available.
When you're looking on eBay, are there any specific things other than the lens designations that you're looking for?
So people looking to adapt should really be looking at lenses with doublers, because it's a very high quality optic in there. It does a little bit of correction, but it also expands the image to your larger sensors. So without the doubler engaged, you're getting just under a Super 16 equivalent coverage of the sensor. Whereas with the doubler engaged, with nothing else, you're getting very close to a Super 35 coverage. A lot of the quality that you'll get adapting a B4 lens is down to the adapter. That's a fundamental part of it.
What would you suggest that the best combo would be for the lens search?
So the best combination that I've found is using a optically corrected adapter and a HD lens. That's going to be the most expensive option, and I understand a lot of people can't do that, but SD lenses are also very capable and shouldn't be overlooked. So an optical correcting adapter and an SD lens, very capable combination. As far as a middle ground for people that I found was really surprising and works well is using a basic pass-through adapter with a broadcast lens that has a doubler, and engaging that doubler for that slight correction and image expansion. You don't quite get a full Super 35 coverage, but if you're filming in Super 35 4K, you can crop in and you've still got way more than 1080p.
Okay, I got the goods. This is the B4 lens. I got it off eBay. It was 100 and something, maybe 200 when you convert it into Canadian. I'll put all the numbers on the screen because I think one of the frustrating things that even when I was researching on YouTube and trying to find all the info I could on these B4 lenses is that you need so much other things other than just the lens. There's cables and rails and lens supports and there's all these little things that yeah, maybe the lens is cheap in comparison to the modern glass that we have right now, but it kind of starts to add up. And when I was doing research, I don't think people really accurately depict it. They're just oh, this is such a cheap lens, and it's just well, sure, the lens is cheap, but then when you start adding everything, it kind of gets a little bit more expensive. So I'm going to break down everything on screen because at this point, I don't even know how much I've spent on this stuff because this has been months in the making of just what do I buy? So hopefully I can clear some things up for you guys, and maybe you already have a bunch of this stuff because yeah, I had a few things here and there, but then had to buy cables and stuff like that. So let's just unbox some stuff and I'll show you what I got. All right, so this is the lens. This is the Canon J16AX8B4. looks in pretty good condition. It has a doubler, which is very, very crucial to our purposes. Yeah, I'm like so stoked just to actually have this in my hand. The other thing that I ordered off eBay was this. This is an adapter. It's an RA adapter. I was talking to James a bit about this, and he was basically explaining to me this has a lens element in it. He advised me actually to try getting an adapter that didn't have a glass element to possibly gain a little bit better quality, because what I understand is that this is basically just like a teleconverter in here. This specific one is 3x, which is crazy. But because I'm shooting full frame, we need to go from like a 2/3 image circle times 2 times 3, and then we can cover full frame, no problem, which is kind of really sick. And it wouldn't be possible if this was just a like clear adapter without any glass. So that was another cost, but I think unavoidable to get an adapter. Okay, so we got the lens and we got the adapter. That's all we're gonna need, right? Wrong. Okay, the other thing that I want to talk about is this 12-pin cord that's just roaming around with this lens as it's a part of it. What do I do with this?
So you've got a few options to power the lens. On the most basic side, you just have a D-tap to the 12-pin high-rose cable. All that I get is power to the lens to use the servo zoom. And if I accidentally put the iris, auto iris on, it would move the iris a predetermined amount that is not useful to us. It's not actually communicating with the camera.
Right.
But then if I have this one with the lank cable output from the lens, I can do the actual start-stop button on the lens to start and stop with the camera.
This is called a high rose, and for our needs, I'm just typing in 12-pin high rose D-tap. Or 12-pin high rose with lank for Sony, and we'll get these cables.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So next, shout out Alvin's cables. This is a 12-pin high rose to D-tap. So this will connect to this. Then I power the whole lens with a V-mount, and this I already had, so that's a win. So one thing I quickly realized, and James explained to me, was that if we are just hanging all of this stuff off our camera, like all of this is way too heavy and will just bust our lens mount.
Lens support is an absolute must, and really good lens support. I can't recommend that enough. You will break the lens mount off your camera. Initially, people will be really familiar with like a Y-shaped lens support that they put on 15mm rods, and I'd recommend like tying something over the lens to like put a ring of support around the lens.
Okay.
Because inevitably you've got a servo zoom there, and you're going to want to hold the servo zoom and lift up, and that's putting leverage force up that's not supported. So don't do that, because you'll break the lens mount the other way. The other option is something that I actually came up with. So this is friction fit to one of my lenses. So basically, because it's a ring, it supports from every single direction.
So we need to connect everything to the adapter and support the lens in either direction. The rails I did have from a previous shape build. So those are 15mm rods, and then a small rig base plate, small rig lens support. So this might just be me, but the only thing I really don't like about this base plate is that the hardware is Allen key. So every time you're switching it out, you need an Allen key. Look at that. I don't know if that's a big deal to other people, but for me, I'm not very stoked on it. So let's put it together. I don't know if you can see that. So the base plate is actually not far enough away from the lens here. So it's hitting the doubler on the side. I already didn't like this base plate. This is what we ended up with. So got the lens support at the front, 15mm rods, and then all this MacGyver base plate over here. But we're balanced, we're good. Like, we got support. And then I'll figure out something, I guess, for the V-mount and places to put the cord. But I think we are ready to go to the next step here. The other part I wanted to talk about is back focusing. 1, how to do it, and like 2, what am I looking for?
Back focusing is what makes the lens parfocal, so it's not parfocal. It's because the back focus is not properly adjusted. It seems like a really daunting task because there's a lot of things to fiddle with, but I've actually made a guide that maybe we could link. It's really short.
Totally.
It takes you through exactly how to back focus one of these broadcast lenses.
Okay, so today's mission is back focusing this lens to make it parfocal, and God bless James for making an easy tutorial. I have it open on my laptop over there. I've already printed off the back focus chart, and I'm just gonna put it up on this window and we're gonna go through it. Okay, I don't know if this is gonna be a massive mistake doing this on a window, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, so I think I understand the steps to get this done. So let's just get right into it. I'll show you what I'm doing here. So basically what James is saying is we're gonna focus all the way in to the chart. We're gonna focus with the lens. So once we have it focused at the long end, we're gonna zoom out. And yeah, it's out of focus, so this is not parfocal right now. And we're gonna take this back ring, the back focus, and I'm gonna punch it on the camera, and we're gonna focus this up, essentially, using the back focus. Okay, that looks pretty decent. So now I'm gonna zoom back in. And he said this process will take like 2-3 times. So I'm gonna go back to the front of the lens now. I'm gonna focus. That looks good to me. Come all the way back out. One of the other things he said to do is do this wide open on the lens. So this lens is 1.8, so I'm currently shooting this wide open. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. All right, I think that's it. Now tighten the knob here. And the other thing James was saying was to do like a bunch of quick crash zooms in and out to see if it stays. And I'm still peeking here. I think we now have a parfocal B4 lens. Okay, that was actually really easy. So now we have a parfocal lens. We can actually start shooting. The next thing we actually need to do is rig it up to power and just get out there and actually start using it. So let's go. Okay, I just want to quickly pause because, my gosh, everything went sideways after I filmed that clip. So this Canon lens that I'm shooting on is not that Canon lens that you just saw. This is my 4th lens at this point. The one that was just in that previous clip, I brought it out to shoot on my first day shooting with it. I plugged it into the D-tap, dead. The servo zoom does not work. So I have no idea what to do. I brought it to my dad, who absolutely can fix anything. We opened up the servo electronics. We tested it to see if there was power or if it was like malfunctioning. Everything had power. Everything seemed like it should work. And still no success. So I sold that. I bought a Fujinon lens. The Fujinon lens was okay. The iris, when plugged into power, every time would go to 5.6. It would close as soon as it had power. I can't control the iris. It just goes right back to 5.6. So I'm assuming I would need another cord other than just connecting this one that controls the servo zoom, but I can no longer control this. I think it's just something to be weary, I guess, when you're buying a Fujinon instead of a Canon for these lenses, but I don't think on every single one of these it does it. So it must just be the specific model. Didn't love that. That was not for me. I wanted to have actual control. So I sold that and got this. This is still a Canon J series lens, and I haven't had any problems. I really love this one. It's in great condition, and this is what I'm gonna be shooting with going forward. I know that was a lot, but I'm happy that they have hold their resale value. So if you're wondering that, they do. While I was out in the field with that Fujinon lens, I did want to try to compare the quality of the glass because it looks so different. It looks like a vintage lens, obviously, because it is, but how does it compare to like a modern lens? So I took my Sigma 24-70, like clinically sharp lens, amazing lens, but how does that stack up? And what are the differences like from these old B4 lenses? So let's take a look at that and then move on. All these clips have the exact same color grade applied to them, and the vintage glass is definitely showing its colors here. But in terms of sharpness, I feel like they're really close. Okay, so we're moving on to taking this lens on an actual shoot. I'm very thankful to have talented friends who we can just like go out and shoot stuff with. So I'm taking this on like a little music video set, and we're gonna do some like fun Instagram reel stuff and just try to do some like slow zoom tests and see what we can get. And I think it's just gonna be a really fun morning. So let's go. So we went out with my buddy Nolan and Jer, aka Galen as his music name, and we shot some stuff for some of his new music coming out and some social posts. I think the hardest part about framing for these shots is like you're framing for two shots almost. You're framing for like the zoom end of it, and then you're framing for the wide end of it. And because there's such a big difference, 8mm and 160, they're completely different shots. It's taken way longer than I thought to like set up a shot. Also, one of the hard parts is like trying not to shake the camera while you're doing this. Like the lens supports do a lot of it, but because you're like pushing on the camera, at the 160, it's like kind of going like this and you can fully see it. This will be cool if it turns out.
Now here you go again, you say you want your freedom. Well, who am I to keep you down? It's only right that you should play the way you feel it. Listen carefully to the sound of loneliness, like a heartbeat drive you mad. In the stillness of remembering what you had and what you lost and what you had, what you lost.
I do really wonder what it would be like to have a B4 adapter that's just a pass-through with no glass element, because the FX30 seems to be like a really great pairing with this lens, and I don't think it needs the doubler or whatever glass element is in here, especially that it's on the lens. Unfortunately, I don't have that to test right now, but I would think that that's something that you should think about, because I'm thinking about it. And it would have been way cheaper. But because I'm using an FX3, I kind of wanted the flexibility to like hop between both cameras. I think it really does like matter in terms of like sharpness. I've just been noticing that, and I wonder if it would actually be sharper just with a pass-through. I mean, I know it would be sharper, but it's just something I wanted to note. So, all right, let's get back to the footage. Okay, right now we're in the middle of a location scout and like lens test with the B4 lens. Me and Nolan are shooting an Eco Court ad tomorrow for my friend's like lifestyle hat brand. Really looking forward to it. We got some cool ideas and some CN Tower in the background. So right now we're just kind of like walking around, finding some spots that look good on both ends. I also forgot to mention this base plate. I have since replaced the SmallRig one, just wasn't working out. We went our separate ways, and I've replaced it with a better Tilta version, and I'm really happy with this. So yeah. We had a great shoot the following day, and we ended up with 3 social pieces for EcoCourt, and this is my favorite one.
Let's go, Red! Push it!
Okay, that is it. That's all I have for my B4 journey. I hope that you learned something. It was so fun to like dive into this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of slow zooms, but you can use this lens to do crash zooms and all other kind of stuff. And I hope that this was just like the tip of the iceberg for you about learning. And yeah, thanks for watching. Maybe hit subscribe if you like this kind of thing. And I'll see you in the next one.